Yo, what it do, brothers? Y'all not tuned in all that rah-rah with your Hebrew brother Milo. What's good? And brothers, this episode will be focused on some comments made by Love Dorsey on the Big Facts podcast on Revolt TV. And I made a video about some statements made by Love Dorsey on the Brother Anton Daniels show. And one statement that I made was, Love Dorsey could just be talking. She may be a chameleon, who knows. But after some further investigation and just watching more of her content and seeing how she interacts with women and how she interacts with men, and then seeing how she interacts with her man, I think it's safe to say she's not a chameleon. She's just... She just talks hard as hell. But, at the end of the day, she's submissive to her man. She understands logic. And if you listen to her, she says things that a lot of men already know, right? But, sometimes men do like to hear things that they know from women because it can be refreshing, right? To just hear it coming from a woman to let a man know, like, okay, I'm not crazy. But brothers, I made a video a few months back on some comments made by the brother Jason Whitlock, which were deemed controversial at the time because Jason Whitlock got into the dynamics of brothers and, the way brothers react to situations who are raised solely by their mothers, and the way brothers respond to situations who are raised by their fathers and their mothers, right? And even if you pay attention to the dynamic in the scriptures of the way your son is supposed to be raised and taught, right? You teach your wife, you teach your son, your wife teaches your son the things that you taught her, right? So when it's just a woman raising a boy by herself, then the boy isn't necessarily going to have a grasp of reality. He's going to react to negative situations the same way his mom reacts to them. And he's also going to react to authority in a negative manner because he's not used to authority. And, the authority that he is used to is from his mother. And 9 times out of 10, she's reacting to something that he's done out of emotion instead of out of logic. So, brothers, you're going to need your father. And if you have a son, your son is going to need you to be there for him and to have tough conversations with him, right? And to explain the way the world works and to explain, how he should respond to situations when they don't go his way, because we can't expect life to go our way. The only thing that we can expect out of life is to go the way that we make it go. So that means we have to think about our decisions. We have to think about who our decisions are going to affect, not just us. And we also have to take accountability for our decisions, right? And, brothers, you have to be there for yourself. You have to have tough conversations in the mirror and ask yourself, am I the best version of myself? Am I doing the necessary work to become the best version of myself? Right? Because, there is a sector of so-called black men who get on social media and, they see themselves as teachers, and they tell brothers what they should be doing, and they tell women what they should be doing. And, just by way of appearance, you would think that they have it all together. But even the Bible tells you in the Apocrypha, in Ecclesiasticus, chapter 37, around verse 19, it says, there is one that is wise and teacheth many, and yet is unprofitable to himself. Right, so brothers, you don't ever want to be that brother who, by way of appearance, it seems that you have it all together. But to the people that know you and that actually talk to you, they know that's not the case. And, another thing about that is, you also don't want the people that know you to see you as a hypocrite, to be telling people what they should be doing, and you are doing the exact opposite, right? And I will say a lot of mama's boys fall into that, and it's no disrespect, but it is what it is. They tend to have all the answers for other people, but, when you start talking to them about their life and the decisions that they've made, a lot of times they play the victim. And it's because that's the programming that they got from their mother, to be a victim. Therefore, the father is needed in the home, and the father has to be an astute man. He has to understand, how to raise his boy, how to talk to his boy, how to get the best out of his boy. And, the way he understands that is by understanding how to get that out of himself. Right, but with all that being said, brothers, let's get it. Let's go ahead and get some real and rare analysis on the statements made by Love Dorsey, because, like I said earlier, man, if you listen to her, she says a lot of things that men already know. But, it's pretty obvious to me that she gets these tidbits of information from her father and her man. And of course, she has to have the mindset to be able to receive the information that is given to her and to accept it, and to also be able to, go over the information that was given to her, to think about it, and to be able to spit it back out to let you know that she understands it and she knows what she's talking about. But yeah, let's get it.
You're listening to Big Facts with Big Bank and DJ Scream.
Live from the Trap Music Museum. You know who it is. It's DJ Scream, Big Bank, Baby J. This is Big Facts, and we are welcomed today by High Demand. The one and only Love Dorsey is here to talk with us on Big Facts. Love Dorsey. What's up? How you feeling today?
I'm good. What's up with y'all?
Every day we
Man,
blessed.
we are great.
We
I'm
blessed.
blessed to be here. Y'all do y'all thing. And I love y'all talk about anything.
Oh, that's what we doing today, though.
Here.
This going to be one of them conversations we just let you know, so we hope you brought your energy.
It's on me.
Yeah.
It's in me.
I want
I
to start like shouts to K Dub. When K Dub was here, we was asking him like, what's the problem with niggas, right? And he kind of attributed to niggas and fatherhood and not having fathers and all that type of shit. So
Yes, that's one problem with so-called black men. A lot of so-called black men don't have the proper so-called black male energy in the home with them. Therefore, they don't put the proper so-called black man energy out into the world.
I think you're the perfect person to ask, like, what do you think is the problem with African American women?
Well, I'll go ahead and answer that question before Love Dorsey begins to speak. And I will attribute the same reason that I attributed to so-called black men to so-called black women. When they are young girls, a lot of them don't have their father in the home, right? Therefore, when they run into a man, and when I say a man, I really mean a man, not a male, a man who expects the best out of her because he expects the best out of himself, they don't necessarily know how to respond to that. Brothers, when you are, walking in your purpose, what you will see is the women that you deal with, a lot of them will, they'll exit stage left by themselves because they see that they can't meet the expectation, or they can't meet your requirements, and they know that. So they'll just go ahead and exit stage left because they'll say something like, you expect more out of me than I expect out of myself. And that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. At least she's being honest. So don't get offended, don't do the most, don't try to force her to stay. It is what it is. But as I was saying, when a man is in the home and he has a daughter, a man will have his daughter cook. She'll be cleaning up the home, doing the same things that her mother is doing. So when she runs into a man, this stuff isn't foreign to her, right? Because she'll cook for herself, but when I say foreign, I mean cooking for a man and, bringing her father a plate and bringing her brothers a plate Therefore, it would translate over into bringing her man a plate. It's not going to be a big issue. It's not going to be an issue at all, matter of fact.
Ooh,
Black women.
I'm talking about he jumping right in.
We got to get to it.
If you don't know, I'm the one that I keep pushing on our people for us to accept the logic, the facts that single mother households produce the worst fucking product. Now you could say it like that, or I could dress it up where females won't get offended, and I could say fatherlessness is the biggest issue in our community with women and raising children, and then it spews into the dating pool.
Yes, but that's with everything. We can speak on things matter of fact, or we can dress it up to be less offensive, but the fact of the matter is the results remain the same. So whether we be straight up about it or we dress it up, the issue is still there, right? And the reason that she said, she can switch it up to come off less offensive for women is because she understands that women, they love to argue in semantics and they love to play the victim, right? So once you say something like single motherhood produces the worst product, what they're going to do is start trying to deflect and defend and start going into personal stories about why they are a single mother instead of just dealing with the statement, right? They're going to make it personal, or they're going to start speaking about the exception to the rule rather than the rule. So they'll talk about, NFL players and NBA players like LeBron James, who were raised in a single mother home, to say that single mothers don't breed failure, but for every LeBron James, for every LeBron James, it's 10 homeless men who were raised in the home of their mom. So for me, when you ask what's up with us nowadays, fatherlessness coming from these single mother households, and even if you didn't directly come from one, they lead, when we talk about low income, they lead the opinion leaders in our community. They are, you know what I'm saying? They the voice in the hood. The mamas that's raising the babies by themselves with no daddies around. Like, that's who's leading right now in regards to, what the children are taught. So now you're looking at a adult generation that came from a lot of fatherlessness, a lot of women, female-headed households.
Let me ask you this.
It's a problem.
I have a question. I'm going to let you finish, but once you get done with that, I want you to touch on...
Well, if you're going to let her finish, then just let her finish. Then you ask your question once she finishes.
Whether or not you think that single mothers get offended about their lack of ability because they are female and because they are emotional.
Well, women being emotional is a part of it, but that's not the main reason. The main reason is the truth hurts, right? And when someone receives the truth, they now have two options, which is to accept the truth or try to kick against it and fight it. And what you will see is when people try to fight against the truth, they end up making an ass out of themselves because they can't debunk it. Therefore, they get angry, they get frustrated, which is what leads to them being in their feelings. And once they're in their feelings, then that's when the insults will come. Or as the late brother Kevin Samuels would say, that's when the sign language comes.
I feel like they get offended because they triggered and can't manage their emotions. The offense comes from, and let me take a step back, right? Mm-hmm. You can't receive information if you're in your feelings.
At all.
How you hear shit depends on your temperament and your energy.
Well, I say this. I definitely agree to an extent. When your mind isn't right and when you are listening to respond rather than listening to understand, then you won't receive what's being stated. But check this out. Sometimes you can be disgruntled and you can, be in your feelings. And sometimes someone can say something so profound that you have no choice but to accept what they are saying because you know it's the truth. Right? Now, I will say, just in the context of, these women and their conversation and they're speaking toward women, yes, I can agree. Right? When a woman is so in her feelings, yeah, she's not going to hear you. But, just speaking from man to man, there are times where we can be extremely frustrated and extremely annoyed, and even in our feelings to a degree. And, we're having a conversation with one of the brothers, and the brother say something so profound that you have no choice but to sit there and say, you know what, bro? You right.
Yes.
So off top, if you defensive, if you feel some type of way, if you got these traumas on you that you haven't seen about with yourself,
you're not gonna hear it with the right ear
at all. And you're gonna come at the conversation, or you're gonna come at the information listening with your inner child, your insecurities, the stuff that you dead wrong for, that shame and guilt, won't let you stand on. You know what I mean? So when it comes to us, it's a struggle to just receive the information. And then outside of that, we struggle with accountability.
Agreed.
Like, I'll be the first female to say it. Like, when you put women alongside men, women have a real fucking problem with being accountable.
Agreed again. But check this out, love. There's so many brothers out here raised by their moms that they're going through the same shit. They just do not want to deal with accountability.
Shit, I ain't gotta say shit there. Go ahead, man. Tell me your business. Hey, nah, but how did you tap into that? Because you weren't always this mindset, right? How did you tap into your right mindset?
So let me say this. Like, growing up, I was a nerd in school, right? And then when I jumped into young adulthood, I was in the streets. So I went from being in the books to now being in the streets.
by personal choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basic environment.
Okay.
When I'm big on the way your life look and the shit you go through is based on your choices. So I don't put shit on anything else. But environment plays a big role in the choices that we are, able to choose from.
Exactly.
Well, I'll say this, and I'll give the sister a credit. That was a pretty profound statement. Your environment definitely plays a role in your choices. That's where the statement, I'm a product of my environment, comes from. But at the same time, that's where the so-called black man is needed in the home to provide a sense of direction for his boy and for his daughter as well. That way, they don't fall into that trap of, I'm a product of my environment. Because even if you're, less than fortunate financially, or whatever the case may be, if you're forced to be in that situation where you are in a bad environment and you are forced to bring your children up in that environment, well, number one, you should be trying to get out of it. But number two, if you're in that environment, then you need to be telling your son right from wrong and telling him to stay away from certain activities that he may see his friends engage in. He doesn't need to be a part of that. That way, he doesn't fall into that. No, I do grasp that every brother doesn't have their father in the home, right? So that's when, especially when you become an adult, you make the choice to steer right instead of steering left. And you come to the understanding as a man yourself that, I made some bad choices when I was a young man or when I was a teenager, and I don't want to do that anymore. Therefore, I'm going to do right. I'm going to do right by people. Number one, I'm going to do right by myself so I can do right by people. And, you continue to mature. You accept the mistakes that you've made. You take them to the chin. And when someone brings them up, you don't get all offended because it happened. You tell them, hey, that happened in my past. I'm not that man anymore. And you move on. You live your life. But to be sitting here saying, oh, well, I'm a product of my environment, and you 35 years old, it's like, come on, bro, that's an issue.
So environment played a role in it, but I jumped in the streets, and then, from being intelligent in the books, but then also being street smart, and then being able to be that homegirl to a lot of street niggas. Like, there was a lot
Man, that lady next to Love Dorsey is annoying as hell.
of shit said and done in front of me to where it molded my perspective differently
No,
than
that's
just
hard. That's
the
hard.
feelings and the
Yes,
woman.
yes,
You know, you see a lot of shit sitting in the trap with niggas that they ain't trying to fuck on you. You like, bro.
Hey, man, I'm not saying she capping, but you gotta come to the front of the congregation on this one. Ain't no way you sit in the trap and niggas ain't trying to fuck on you. No disrespect. But, you know, just based on the context of what she's saying as far as, you know, getting ahead of things that those type of cats they are talking about, and, you know, the way that they navigate in the streets, and her picking up on that, it makes sense. You can hear it in her, you know, you can hear it in her everyday speech. And for her to already be book smart and then to add the street smart on top of it, it makes her, in a sense, kind of wise compared to other women because she knows the mindset of men. And when I say the mindset of men, I'm talking about, well, no, I'm not going to say that. She knows the mindset of men. I give it to her.
But you still get to hear they
yes,
vulnerability.
yes,
Say in front of you.
yes.
So help you get it like, damn, these niggas, we do these niggas to the point that these niggas would want to be a good nigga, but I can't due to the fact of the shit you done showed me.
Yep.
I think Love Dorsey just said, yep, to shut Big Bank up because I don't know what the hell he just said. I mean, I heard what he said, but I don't understand what the hell he was talking about.
That's cold right there, right?
It is. And the thing about it is my platform, like I give so much game that help females, but the whole emotional side, they can't see through, you know, feeling some type of way because I said something about the state of parenting in our community when we talk about, you know, a certain demographic with us.
Because when you break down the dynamic of the parenting that goes on in the so-called black community and you start to get to the issue and the root of the issue, then it's like a punch in the stomach. It's a punch to the liver. That shit hurts. So, of course, they're going to get emotional about it because they don't want to accept the fact.
They can't hear past that.
Yeah.
So then it just turns into offense. You know, you're typing paragraphs, you in your feelings, but it ain't hard to look around. I mean, you know, a lot of what men struggle with nowadays as a grown man, being able to try to manage your emotions, and, you know, a lot of what women struggle with in relationships where you want a nigga to be, you know, head of household, but you can't, you know, it's a power struggle. You don't know how to be feminine. You don't know how to, you know, be in that role once you make it home.
Right. Nah, she ain't her bad. You know, if you just scroll down your timeline, specifically on, you know, an outlet like X, you will see a lot of so-called black women giving their expectations of what a so-called black man is supposed to do. And then you will see a so-called black man reply to that tweet or that post or whatever it's called now. And, you know, he'll ask something like, what does the man get in return? Or, you know, if a man is supposed to lead you and guide you, how are you going to reciprocate that energy? And the woman, either she'll gaslight the man and say something, you know, like, well, he gets me, I'm the prize, or, you know, just flat out not answer the question. So, in regards to what she's saying, yes, you have a lot of women who, just in their nature and by biology, they want a leader. They need a leader. But at the same time, the society has taught them that they're on equal playing field with men. Therefore, you know, it's programmed in them not to listen to men. So it comes off as delusional. You want a leader, but you won't listen to a leader if you had one.
And you also, and it's another thing too, I think, with that whole situation with like being the head of household and all that, is that a lot of women lack the proper skills to be the foundation for that man to be that head.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what she just said.
Yeah, and I'm going to kick it to y'all blood raw. Like in a lot of other cultures, they're raising their girls to be women.
Caterers.
Feminine, nurturers, to embody everything about us, even that emotional side.
Facts. And that goes back to what I said earlier in the video about, you know, if the so-called black man is in his right mind and he's in the home, he's going to raise his daughter to be a wife. He's going to have her cooking for him, for her brothers, you know, cleaning up, just so she can be a good wife. Because, I mean, in the same breath, you want your son to be a good husband to his wife or his wives as well. Right? So therefore, you're going to teach him how to treat a woman, how to talk to a woman, how to be kind and courteous, you know, not be a simp, not to take bullshit, but to also be a good man to a woman. So therefore, you would want your daughter to be a good woman to a man. Now, you know, as a man, you also have to vet the man that your daughter is going to be with, you know, to make sure that she's getting a good man as well. Even if that man is a polygynous man or whatever the case may be, you know, as long as he's going to take care of her and make sure that she's fine and, you know, she's been loved and treated correctly, then fine. But, you know, just going back to what the sister is saying, a lot of other cultures, yes, that's something that they do. They raise their daughters to be wives. And that's something that's not really done in the so-called black community. And that needs to change because that messes up the dynamic of so-called black men and so-called black women when they become adults. They don't really know how to coexist with one another. The man doesn't necessarily know how to be a man. The woman doesn't necessarily know how to be a woman. Right? They're just two people in a relationship with no roles. You know, they're just winging it. And when you're just winging it, you're bound to fail. Now, of course, there are success stories, but there are also exceptions to every rule. So, you know, when you look at the dynamic of so-called black people in the States, and you look at, you know, our marriage rates or even just looking around in your friend circles, what you will see is a lot of single mothers. Now, I will say there are a lot of brothers in their children's lives, but we need the nuclear home to be intact in order to change this. And that starts with brothers vetting these women that they're dealing with and actually choosing a good woman to procreate with. Therefore, you know, you two can remain together and you can raise your seed together. That way, the child can receive both sides and benefit from both parents.
To learn how to use that intuition as a way to be valuable to a family unit, right?
Right.
We, in our community, we're mothering one another from a space of like, I'm gonna raise my daughter to be independent, right? I'm gonna raise her to do everything for herself, not need a nigga for nothing. But you know, our biology as human beings, especially as women, we're wired for companionship. Like it's in our DNA, in our biology. So when I see people that be talking about, you know, I'm independent, I'm gonna be by myself, fuck these niggas, they ain't shit. You going against your nature.
Exactly.
Like, regardless of what you want to say online or what you want to say to us, there is something in you that's going to pull you towards companionship.
Towards the nigga.
Yeah.
I don't really like when women use the term nigga. I mean, like, I get it if you're raised like that and it comes out every once in a while, but when they're referring to their man as nigga or my nigga, nah, that shit is not cute. There's nothing cute about that. Sound like some slave master shit. In the same breath, saying my bitch, you know, that shit don't sound, it don't sound good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then when you being raised with the programming in the opposite direction, this is when you become psychologically fucked up.
Yes,
that's why we got a lot of mental health issues. Like
facts, and that's why so many of these women are drinking themselves to sleep with wine every night and on antidepressants. Because they are going against their biology. It's just that.
You know, we talk a lot about, you know, the males'
like
mental
an internal
health.
struggle.
Yeah, women need to be honest. We struggling right now psychologically. We are. They showing us how to take advantage of all our new rights, be boss bitches, start businesses, earn all this money, but then you don't know anything about being submissive in your household.
Facts. That's why you got women out here like, what's that other name, Stormy? Out here buying men, you know, making that man be submissive to her basically, but acting like she's submissive to him. You know, the dynamic is messed up out here between the so-called black man and the so-called black woman. But, you know, it all starts with the foundation of how the so-called black boy and the so-called black girl is raised. And they're not raised to be harmonious with one another and to complement one another. They're raised to compete with each other. Specifically, the so-called black woman is raised to compete with the so-called black man. Right? Therefore, when they come together for companionship, It's a competition in the relationship. So, until that is addressed, and that's got to be addressed, like I said, at the foundation, then this issue is going to continue. Now, you do have some women, and they're far and few in between, that are good women and who are raised correctly and who do understand the mindset of men, and they understand masculinity, right? And they understand even when they're mad, that whatever they're thinking, to keep it to themselves when it comes to dealing with their man, because it's just out of pure respect for their man.
Like, men want respect over love any day.
Right.
So it's like, in order for you to really be that woman in your household, you got to be able to take that hat off at the door from that business. You might be the top realtor. You might have 3-4 salons or got that online hair brand. But can you turn that shit off and be a woman at home? Because a nigga don't give a fuck about you being a boss in the house.
Facts, because you are not the boss of the house. You can be the boss of your salon. Good for you. Whoop-de-fucking-do. But when you come in here, you second in charge, not first in charge. There's levels to it, right? I mean, the major general isn't above the lieutenant general, right? So, same thing in the household. Just because you do have say-so doesn't mean you have the final say-so.
Right.
Bitch, this nigga done put his mic down. Like, fuck you ain't gonna talk.
Where you think our culture, when that changed though? Like, when you think in black culture that all changed?
So for me, I mean, I could go way back, but I like to just kind of bring it to a,
both.
Okay, so on the surface level, late 1960s, early 1970s.
When the welfare.
But yes, brothers, the fact of the matter is, it's always going to come back on us. I mean, even if you look at how brothers who are only raised by their mothers, when they do act out in society, people still look at it like, man, that's a man acting like that. Right? So what I'm saying is that's not an excuse. It's not an excuse to emote. It's not an excuse to, look at life through your emotional lenses rather than your logical lenses. It's always best to, assess situations, be as logical as possible. I mean, we do have emotions and we are going to mess up. We are going to succumb to our emotions at times, right? That's a part of the human experience. That's a part of living your life. But the point is, that's not how you should be living your life as an emotional being. You should be living your life as a man, being logical. That way you can understand, in the decisions that you made, where you went left in making that decision, right? And that way you can correct those decisions, or, not to engage in that type of stuff again, or whatever the case may be, when you're engaging in that type of situation with the woman again, where you are feeling as if you want to have a child with this woman, then you know how to properly vet this woman, rather than having a child with her too early, and then you're not in that child's life the way you would desire, and now you grow up and seeing your child as a statistic. I mean, your child grow up and you see your child as a statistic, right? And even when your child grows up, as to what I was saying earlier, if that child is a man, it's still going to come a time where he has to make the decision as to where I'm going to be a productive member of society as a man, or I'm going to be a degenerate in society as a male. So we all, as men, have to come to that road and decide what we are going to do about the road that lies in front of us and how we want to attack it. But with all of that being said, man, I hope you brothers got you some understanding. That's all that rah-rah. Yo.